Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you're joining at. Let's get rid of this music for one. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining this stream. I have to apologize in advance. I am not in my office, as you can tell from my background. About 10 minutes ago, my entire community had an internet outage. So I had to run to a coffee shop. So you might hear some background noise that you typically don't during this kind of streams. And I am so sorry for that, but the show must go on. What we're bringing you today is something that is top of mind for every single one of you here. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Andrea Griffiths. I'm a senior developer architect here at GitHub, and I get to work with developers every day. This stream is not going to be a featured demo, although we are going to take you through some of the ways that you can optimize your billing and look at the bill, which I know everyone is concerned around. But we're going to see what we can actually do about it. So let's sort of set the right frame to start. The idea here is not to panic and to be terrified and think, well, that's it. I can't use Copilot anymore. The idea here is that we need to optimize for, right? We're going to stop wasting interactions and we're going to work in ways that help us efficiently make a real difference in what our cost is. So that's what we're going to cover. I'm super excited because I'm joined by two people that have been building material on this. They get to talk to customers a lot, probably every day. It's literally their job. And they've been very concerned, as many of you have, about how this is going to impact us on individual level for their own accounts as well as an enterprise level. So welcome, Francesco Lana, and welcome, Marco Olivo.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you for being here. And so you both have been working on a resource for a practitioner guide that we're going to share, actually. We created a ton of information. We're going to cover some things here during this stream. We're going to show you how to look at your billings, and then we're going to talk about what you can do to actually optimize it. But first, we need to also give thanks to Arlen, who is not here, but he's one of the contributors, and I'm probably completely mispronouncing his name, Marco, you can correct me. But he's one of the people who contributed to some of the guides that we're going to be sharing today. So let's get right into it. We're gonna start with what's actually changing, and basically, if you've seen the announcement, you read the blog post, you understand now that there is gonna be a different way of dealing for GitHub Copilot. So we need to sort of shift our mental model and the way that we were thinking about how we work with Copilot, and that is UBB. Someone in the chat asked earlier what UBB is. So there is your answer. It's actually usage-based billing. So we call it usage-based, but it's basically how do you spend your tokens, right? So that's it. We used to have an unlimited model before, just for the good times, and now we have a meter model, right? So the key to understand that is that it's shaped by different things. The way that your usage is used, the prompt inputs, the model inputs, the context overheads, the tool overheads, and there are many things that we can do to optimize that. And that's something that Marco and Francesco are both going to help us cover today. So we're going to think about the ways that we can optimize not only for our organizations, but on our own personal usage, right? There are things that remain free, and we should also highlight that there are still ways that we can use Copilot and not consume that part of your allocation of your usage, like inline completions and next edit. So those things stay outside of the new credit system. But what burns models is, of course, the premium models, the chat with context, advanced completions, agentic workflows, all of this. So what I want you to take away from this session today is that we need to not worry so much about setting up budgets per se, because budgets are just going to cap spending. And the idea here is it's not a punishment. It's not intended for you to use less a tool that become so important in all of our developer workflows, but to just learn better habits so we know how to reduce waste. So we can set the budget, sort of stop the bleeding, and then there's going to be real efficiencies that we're going to gain coming from the way that we change our workflows. So that's what this stream is about. So what's actually changing? Let's go over the timeline real quick. On June 1st is when usage-based billing is going to flip on for teams and for enterprise. So if you're using Copilot today, you want to be looking at your baseline usage before that date. And that is what our friend Francesco is going to actually take us through. Francesco, if you could take us through where we're supposed to find this billing guide and how can people take a look and see exactly, make sense of what it is?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Andrea. I hope you can see my screen now. If we can switch up. Okay, here it is. So what happens actually, probably you already noticed, landing on your GitHub page, developers will notice that there's like a new badge says that Copilot, GitHub Copilot is moving to AI credits. So what does it mean? Of course, thank you for the introduction, Andrea. So we are moving to from premium request usage to AI credits. So we will be charged for actually the actual usage we will have. So what developer can do can just, if you click on preview your usage, you can of course go through the documentation. You can set budgets. You have CDAs that will drive you to the documentation or some of the action that we will see later on also with Marco. And then you can download the CSV file that we will give you the preview on the usage based on the on April. So if you click on this, an email will be sent, of course, to your email, and then you will be able to upload it into the Sidecar the dashboard we have released. So if you click on the Explore Usage and Trends, you're gonna redirect to the Sidecar application. Here you can see this is gonna explain the usage-based billing, how it works, and you can of course upload your own CSV. I got someone here like for demo purposes. I can upload so we can see how it works. Just give me 1 second. Here it is. Please just don't look at numbers. These are just some fake data we fill into just to give you like this demo. But anyway, here you will find like a dashboard that is reporting based on your current usage in April, how this will look like in the next few months. This is just an estimation, an idea. Could be less, also could be more, depending on your usage. I wanted to say also that here all the values are provided without any discount you may have, promo or whatever. But in this estimation, you will see the promotional amounts applied. I mean, as far as you understand, we have like a promo period going through June, July, and August, where you will have a bit more of entitlements that are included in the standard tier. So this is important because you will have some time to adapt to, let me say, tune up your solution, your configuration on GitHub and on GitHub. And this dashboard is pretty helpful because a part of the, let me say, just the value amount, I mean the cost amount, you can also go through and check it, all the recommended next steps. You can also navigate and better understand how developers are using the tool. So for example, if we navigate in the user, you can see the total, the pool, because this is another news. You will have now shared pool. So when developers will make a subscription for GitHub, they will have like, I don't know, maybe an amount of AI credits. But like before you have premium requests. With premium requests, you have like a pre-user bucket, and then only the overage was like share pool. Right now, what you have like a share pool from the start. So this is like a cool thing because you can also save up on, for example, light user that were not using all the premium requests. So at the end of the month, you don't have any waste. Looking at the user, this could be something interesting. You can sort for PR usage or for AI credits and have like an idea on how your user are using. I mean, the GitHub Copilot. You can also navigate through the model tabs and see which is the model that is most used. You can see, sorry, for peer model, or you can look at the top models also used. You can also navigate products and see which is the product I consume most. In this case, for GitHub Copilot, you can see, for example, I got Opus 4.6. maybe you can find something else that have a similar comparison in terms of performance. We can dive this into later on also with Marco. But anyway, this is very helpful to give you an idea on how you can then approach this change and adapt to this change. And last thing is like the spending insight. I think this is very interesting because can give you like a spending by group per user. So you can see there are some power user, heavy user, typical user, light user, and near zero users. So this is like a t-shirt size group with the users. So you can also maybe use those insights to tailor a bit more on how you're gonna end up with setting budgets and so on. Speaking about budgets, we also introduced a more fine level of granularity of control in the user level budget, for example. So you can now set user level budgets that apply globally, or you can also make specific overrides for specific users. And this will help you to manage, let me say, hungry users, not only angry users, but also hungry users compared to maybe a light user that are maybe occasional user. They will not consume so much AI credits, but maybe, of course, they will also they also had the chance to use Copilot and to avoid to angry user to consume all the bucket. So hand it over to you, Andrea.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francesco. I just wanted to quickly ask, and sorry for interrupting, Marco, because you mentioned earlier on that there is some credits that are going to be applied. So for folks who are watching that with enterprise accounts, how can they know what these credits are? I think probably the best way would be to reach out to their salesperson to understand better. Okay.
Yes, developers and organization can reach out to their usually Microsoft or GitHub contacts, and usually the account team, where we can discuss about this and see how all this promo period and all the terms applies. The other thing is we also have like public documentation. Maybe we can share that later on in the post in the chat, so we can give you like specific information about the promo period and entitlements that you have in that period.
Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Marco.
Yeah, just to maybe give also some hope, let me say, to all the folks connected here. I mean, these are numbers, you might say, oh, they're scary, because, yeah, this is like the double. Yeah. But on the positive side, I've noticed a lot of people, a lot of developers, and a lot of organizations that essentially are using the pattern that you were showing in one of your screens. So
the spending insights, maybe.
Opus, the elephant in the room.
The opus of it all.
Opus. Yeah. Everyone these days is using Opus. And I mean, you have been using it probably for the right reason, because up to yesterday, let me say, it was cheap in GitHub Copilot. And I have to confess that since I have unlimited tokens, since I work for Microsoft, I was using it myself. And when I saw how many tokens I used, I said, oh my gosh, I should do something. And I would be a liar if I told you that, yeah, Opus is not great. Opus is great. But honestly, I then backtracked this habit myself, which I develop a lot of code these days. And I started using other models, so cheaper models. And probably this is the best thing that you can do right now, today. Just use cheaper models. Go check out on the official model provider pages, basically the pricing, input, output, and cache tokens, because all these count against your Azure, your AI credits, AICs, and choose the most appropriate one for the task you're doing. So if you are like creating you're maybe creating a deep analysis, deep thoughts, well, Opus is probably great. It has great reasoning capabilities. But if you're just let me say, coding, Sonnet or GPT-3, 5.3 codecs are very great. And maybe if you created a plan with Opus, you can implement with a very cheap model like Haiku. So here is to say that not always the best model is the best, actually the best solution that you should pick. And if you bring away one thing from this webinar, that's it. Try to use cheaper models and you will see that the results are great the same. Also, one thing that I can share is that, and it's also quite easy to understand, is that often these models come with reasoning efforts you can tune. So you can basically decide how much each of these LLMs thinks about tokens and thinks in tokens when you do a prompt. And as in real life, if you spend too many thoughts on a simple problem, you might lose a lot of time and you might not even get a good result. So my suggestion is also to tune the reasoning effort every time you face a problem with agentic workflows. Just think, I'm trying to solve a very small issue, which maybe Haiku is a great fit, or is it like sending a rocket to the moon? So that is probably the job for Opus. Okay, so just balance these things, and they will impact a lot on your consumption. I think that the difference between Haiku and Opus or GPT 5.5 is 24 times in terms of cost. I read it somewhere.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. So choose the right model. Okay.
So to sum up, we can also apply, as you said, we can also apply like divide impera. So tackle the problem divided by into small chunks, or let me say atomic operation, and then address it with, maybe we can use like, I don't know, maybe a reasoning model to have like the bigger plan, and then go deep down to the single task with like an Haiku that you can save up to, I don't know, maybe 60 times. That's something we can.
I think we just all build, I can speak for myself, I say we, but I definitely build some really bad habits. Like just taking a hammer to everything is not the solution. And there is a lot of models that are very efficient and sufficient for what you need. But, before we were concerned about just like, of course, throw the most high reasoning model to everything. And oftentimes, honestly, it does not give you the responses that you would actually work with. And I think it just adds layers of complexity to simple tasks that are not necessary. There is a new feature also in Copilot that's the auto select mode, where there is it's been super interesting for me to learn. I was extremely skeptical about the auto model selection. I always think automatically assume it's cheap. The cheaper models are going to pop up automatically because this is an efficiency for the provider, not for the user. But I stand corrected after actually spending some time with some of the engineering and PM team. And I share it on the link on the chat. We did a GitHub checkout recording where the PM for this auto feature actually goes into details about how they do a benchmarking the model EOS and selection as to what get assigned for what task. And there's a lot of intelligence layers that go into that. And she does a demo actually as part of the episode that shows that the correct model got chosen for the correct task. And it wasn't the cheapest model, right? Like it's still selecting frontier models when the task merits the frontier model. Otherwise, it's actually giving you a less expensive model, but not a bad model, a model that's the right model for the job. So we just gotta sort of make a mental shift about how we work, using the different models for different tasks, breaking it apart, breaking the big problems apart. And that's, the basics of software engineering, like you mentioned, Francesco. But we all got so used to being able to just throw one request to an agent and let it go run on one premium request that it's not being a concern. So I would encourage everyone to give auto model selection a try as well. That is, it's a good tool now. It's changed a lot. If you used it before, try it again. But I want us to transition into the nitty gritty of what we can do. There was a question earlier in the chat And thank you so much, Michael, for being here, about top strategies for reducing usage consumption and preventing that rate limiting on the agentic workflows. And I think that is exactly the kind of thing that you were working on, Marco, Francesco, and Arlen, on that interaction cost guide. So if we don't mind just transitioning into that, because I think that that complements very well what we're talking about here, that it's like, let's not panic. We just want to learn how to use Copilot better and to identify those usage drivers right from the get-go so we can adapt our workflows to where we can actually save some bill and money. So Marco, if you don't mind taking it away.
Yeah. So basically, I have created this repo, which I created initially internally at Microsoft to collect the various techniques that are like available in many different and sparse places on the internet. So this is not official guidance, let me say, from GitHub or Microsoft, but it contains quite a lot of suggestions, and there are GitHub pages from here. You can click this link, so you will be brought here. So we collected this token optimization guide, just several suggestions which we will go through now. So maybe let's skip why tokens matter, because now you know it, and let's see how you can compress. Well, one technique which was created by, I don't remember the name of the guy that created a few months ago, is like caveman speak. So you, the principle is that you can avoid a lot of articles, filler words, pleasantries, and edging to save output tokens, essentially. And that's a good idea, because output tokens are quite expensive in all the models overall, even though they are less than the input and cache tokens. But they impact quite a lot since they have a higher cost. So applying this technique is as simple as instead of asking and having the model say, can you explain what this error message means and how I should fix it? Explain error, how fix. Now, it's more, I would say, harsh, but it works decently well, especially if you apply maybe not the ultra variations, but lighter variations. You still get good quality of outputs without losing anything in terms of quality. So there are intensity levels that you can decide. So you can be like professional but tight. So like this, and this is about 20 tokens. Or you can go full caveman, so very, very harsh or extremely harsh. There are estimations which are available on the internet. Take them with a grain of salt here, but in general, they save output tokens, as we said. And it's quite simple also if you start maybe thinking twice when you type your prompts. So instead of typing a very long prompt like this, you could maybe restructure it in a condensed way. Maybe it won't be easy at the very beginning, but maybe you can put a lot of more effort in your prompts to save also your input tokens. So you can use abbreviations, for example. So instead of writing database, you can write DB and so on. They might be, in some cases, 1 token instead of 2 or 3 tokens. It depends on the language and so on. And also on the language, let me maybe switch, I think, to the second suggestion, is that, well, you might be English native, but I am not. Francesco is not. Well, I speak in English to my agents, only very little in my native language, which is Italian. But I have seen people actually preferring their own native language for input tokens, and subsequently also for output tokens, because if you start writing in one language, the model will output probably in that same language. It's a bad idea, because on average, there is at least 30% more tokens in output, tokens in general for another language. And so on some languages, it's even crazier, especially in Hebrew or Russian or Japanese. So try to use English language when talking to the models, because you will save tokens, not words maybe, but tokens. Actually, there is something like this Chinese classical, which I don't know how it's pronounced. It's when
you don't speak Chinese, Marco.
But I don't speak Chinese. So if you speak this, actually you can save even more, but it's just more for actually educational purposes. In general, use English and use terse English so that everything is more condensed. Don't translate your prompts, and if you're bilingual, just write English. Then maybe we can touch this. So we all know that Copilot instructions is typically the first file that you want to create in your repo. That's fine. There is also the /init command in VS Code, and I think also in the Copilot CLI, maybe also on other IDEs. I don't use it personally. I tend to write my custom Copilot instructions manually, and I prefer to put there only the things that the model couldn't probably figure out alone. Maybe, I give you an example. So I had this project which was using PostgreSQL on my machine. I was building it. And actually, I had PostgreSQL containerized. So every time I had an issue with the database, I noticed that the agent went in circles many times trying to find the PSQL command to connect to the database and run some queries. I had no PSQL on my machine. It was a Docker container. And it figured out after like 30, 40, 50 seconds. And all those were wasted tokens. And now that we're paying them, it's very important to tell the model, hey, look, if you need to connect to my database, it's Dockerized. So do a Docker exec and don't try to find PSQL on my machine. So things like this will save you a lot of tokens if you put them in Copilot instructions. And I prefer to put them manually, very condensed. So here is the example also of using caveman in your Copilot instructions. So you should write the test responses like caveman and blah, blah, blah. Very terse. So in this case, with a saving. Also, if you are using custom instructions which are those in the .github/instructions folder, you can use the apply to. The apply to allows you to scope the instruction files to some specific files or folders or patterns. So that's a very good idea, again, to save tokens, because you do not put these specific instructions for just one file across your general Copilot instructions, but you put them only for specific files that actually are the ones interested by those instructions. So also use this technique to basically organize your repo. There was, I think, another one here. Yeah, this one is quite important. And again, I confess I'm guilty. Start fresh conversations, because when you accumulate the context, at a certain point, you will incur into automatic summarization. That's typically bad for quality, but also it's quite bad for the number of tokens that you're consuming. So it's better than when you arrived at 50, 60% of your token window filled up with the tokens, or if you notice that you are going in circles, you just start a fresh new chat. In that way, you will pay the fact that tokens are not cached, so you have to cache them again. But overall, it tends to work probably better. Okay, this is similar to the caveman technique. So you can ask in Copilot instructions, for example, to output only code without explanations. And or you can type it in your prompt, code only. So agents will tend to respect this, and you save essentially output tokens if you don't care about all the instructions and all the notes that an LLM could give you. So you can save, again, a significant amount of output tokens. And remember, output tokens are few, but are quite costly.
This, Marco, sorry, depends also by the mode you're going to use. If it's like, I don't know, maybe it's an Ask, if you're using Ask mode, for example, or if you are using like a plan mode, or if you're using agent mode, probably this is better when, for example, if you need to ask something, of course, maybe you need to have like a better explanation on the topics, on the subject you are dealing with, compared to, for example, an agentic an agentic task where you need to spin off, or maybe you spin off the autopilot and you wait, I don't know, maybe 2 hours until it finished the job, and then you come back and see the results. So that depends also about which is the mode, because looking back at the question before, it said without compromising performance, and that's why depending on which is the mode you're going to use, you're going to apply different way of controls, and you're going to mitigate the problem in different way.
Yeah, and talking about the Ask mode and agent mode, if you are just asking for something, if you use the Ask mode, it's slightly better, because in the past, it used to behave like no tools, almost reading nothing, just the file that you had opened. So it was even cheaper. Nowadays, it's a bit more agentic, but still less agentic, I've noticed, than using the agent mode to ask the same question. So
yeah, maybe you can also maybe create your custom agent, let me say, to make doing some kind of research in order to tailor to I don't know, maybe with the right amount of output token or input, depending on the request. But maybe you can create also your own version of the researcher agent or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat. I want to make sure that we bring our attention, because it's something that I think we're going to get to, but we haven't covered yet, about using local models as well, and bringing your own key, which is something that is supported in VS Code and Copilot CLI. So to answer your question, Dininu, thank you for asking. Yes, you can bring your own keys. You can bring your own model. You can use your own local model. Full transparency, I've been experimenting a bit with the Copilot CLI, and for some of the more agentic things, like they do require a high reasoning model, and it's harder to use the local models. A lot depends on the hardware that you have too, but I think the hardware itself are not optimized for that yet. On VS Code, you can pick your own key, or you can also access the Foundry models, and if you have models that are deployed within the organizations like the Azure, you can also use those. So just to let you all know that it is supported. And then there was another question from Marcus. Should you ask for brevity when getting a response? So would that be part of the instructions, I guess, to either my agent or my Copilot instructions? Like, don't tell me the story of your life. Just answer the question. How can we implement that?
Yeah, and there are also models which are more verbose in output than others. For example, Opus is very good at reasoning and also very good at telling a lot of things that, I mean, it depends on the task, as always. But if you don't care much about the instruction, the explanations, tell the agent not to give them. One thing that I wanted to touch is MCP servers. So MCP servers, let me say, are quite bloated in terms of consumption of the context window. You can also tell, like in VS Code, there is the chat debug function, which allows you to, I don't know, Francesco, maybe if you have time to open VS Code and show it, but I mean, it's something that shows you how your prompt is passed through to the models, and you can tell how much tokens you are wasting if you are just enabling all the tools that maybe you are not even using. And if you install some extensions in VS Code, you might even have skills and additional MCP servers that you didn't even knew about and that are passed in each request that you make, and now you pay them. So it's important to take care of also what you send, maybe behind the scenes, because that impacts quite a lot. And there is well, a debate on the internet about MCP versus skills with the CLI. Essentially, the proponents of this debate say that it's more efficient to use the skills with MCP with the CLI rather than using the MCP tools, because they consume less tokens in input in your workflow. I tend to agree with this thing. So I personally disable a lot all of the MCP servers that I typically don't need. I just keep very few, because every tool costs essentially tokens. And if you have many, you get maybe, like in this example, 150,000 tokens just for tool definitions, which is, I would say, very bad. So try to reduce them as much as possible. If you need them, use skills. Also, remember that also skills are not free, because the description and the name are passed, because the model needs to know that it has some skill, but still they can be cheaper. So don't abuse of the skills also, just as you shouldn't abuse of MCP servers. Yeah.
For the MCP configurations, like I know you said you disable a lot of the ones that you use, because same thing for purposes of saving and usage. But then you also just share, I saw on the screen, a JSON file. So where you're actually scoping the servers by workplace instead of globally, so that they're specific to what your specific workspace is. That, yeah, that's
exactly.
Right.
So instead of installing the global MCP, which you will have every time, maybe scope them by repo. I tend to use this kind of thing. Honestly, the MCP servers that I use, more or less, not even every day, it's the context 7 whenever I type some code, because I want fresh library information, which maybe the models do not have. Sometimes the GitHub MCP server, if I need to work on GitHub on issues. And the playwright MCP server, which, by the way, is tool heavy. So if you enable it, be aware that you're bringing with you an elephant. So
because also depending on the amount of tool that you have at disposal, because
exactly.
just to remember, for each tool you have, you're gonna put into the input every time the name, the description, so the LLM knows what the tool can do actually, and bring it into when needed. So that's why it's important maybe also to think about the MCP server you are adding, how many tools you can offer.
Yeah, and maybe the last things that I would like to share, then you will have this repo because it's public, so you can read it through. But there are a couple of plugins which you can use in the CLI. One is called Copilot Code Act plugin. Essentially, it collapses many tool calls into a one program, and this program that you that the LLM actually builds, it's like Python code that runs all these in sequence in one call. So instead of going back and forth into the calls, you just do one single call. The other one is RTK, Rust Token Killer. Essentially, it's a proxy that you set up as a hook, and you get it invoked every time there is a tool to be called. And he knows about 100 different tool calls, which are the typical ones, and he knows how to compress them without losing the meaning. So it's very useful to reduce the number of tokens going back and forth.
And I can add on, if you're watching this and you're thinking like, okay, well, how do I know how much of like my context window is being in by MCP right now? At least in the Copilot CLI, like there is a /commands context. that will give you a breakdown mid-session. So you can call it using Flash contacts, and it will give you like the breakdown of like all the messages, all the free space. I don't think that that's in VS Code yet. There might be a plugin for it, but that's just a good way for you to kind of be aware of what's actually considered.
For the context, I mean, management.
Yeah, for the context.
Yeah, on the insider one, you should be able to see like a ring that it's
yes, that's right. On the chat, yes.
And if you click on it, you should be able to compact your session. So, but again, let's use the suggestion that Marco was saying. You need to pick the right moment, let me say, when you need to switch, maybe the open a new chat so you can start fresh, because we need to also remind that the context window of the models, some models can suffer from context poisoning, you know. So when you are having like a long conversation, and then you're gonna talk about something that you start at the beginning of the chat, and then maybe in the meantime you're gonna talk about other things, then the quality, sometimes the quality of the reply that the model can give you, it's like a bit less in terms of quality, because of the long context and the huge context you have. There's also an interesting paper I read about this, about a lot of models there. The test was like action, and then after 10 or 20 turn, I'm gonna ask the same question and see how it change, or if I get the same result, and now the information has changed between all the turns I have with the model, and that's interesting. So you can see that there's some models also lose up to 40 or 30% of quality in terms of response. Cool. Can you hear me? I see a lot of...
Yeah, I think you cut off a little bit, but I think we're back. Okay, Francesco.
Yeah, okay.
So I've once again shared the link to the repository so people can go in and also bookmark it. Can you show us a little bit of those comparisons? I think you did a lot of testing yourself before you wrote this guide, so it's grounded on real facts. If there's anything else in the guide that we want to cover, we can go through it now. I think you're muted, Marco.
No, not really.
Okay.
My side, I mean, this is no. Actually, there is something if you are managing an enterprise. So if you're managing an enterprise, so if not like a developer only, you have to set your budget ceilings, and you can go very deeply grained into even user level and decide that a user needs to have access to some kind of budgets which the others might not. But there is one thing that if you're using GitHub also, you might even do as a side effect. You can separate users in different orgs. And in that case, you are able to decide which models are used by which users. So you can decide that, for example, users that maybe you do not trust much, you can decide, okay, let's avoid giving them Opus right now because it's very expensive. If they use it maybe not in the right way, the price will skyrocket. And maybe you leave it only for some users which are doing maybe a specific job or a specific function of your company. So you can also tailor this. It's, I would say, a workaround because it's not how the organization should actually work. But in case you need to limit the number of models available to different populations, you can do that. But yeah, overall, I would say related to the output that Francesco was showing at the beginning of this call, try to understand who are your top spenders, how they're using your models, try to segment users in different categories, understand with them why they were using Opus, maybe because it was like the shiny tool in town, but that's nice. I mean, but it costs, so you need to compare actually the benefit of using the shiny new object versus the actual quality that you get might not be the best. So yeah, these are my essentially my suggestions.
Yeah, for sure. One thing is, Andrea, you're mute.
Go ahead. I was saying thank you, Marco.
Okay, I was saying, yeah, for sure. The first thing I would suggest, it's like starting from the first of June, set up your budgets so you don't end up with surprises at the end of the month, and then you can tune up. I mean, leveraging all the feature that we just released. I mean, we will release with the new change about the user level budgets, the universal one and the single. I mean the ad personam, and then you can tailor up your configuration to understand better how your user are gonna ended up consuming your AI credits, the included one, and maybe if there's an overage, how to handle the overage.
Perfect. So we have a lot of homework. I think we have some things that we can do today to start setting up at the enterprise level. Thank you so much for bringing that up for folks to go ahead and set up those budgets. That's so important. I'm going to share once again the link to the repository on the chat, and I will also add it to the notes of the stream once it's done. There is a question on where to set up the budgets. Francesco, I don't know if you have that handy where you could show on the screen.
Yeah, let me share back the screen so I can open up. 1 second here.
And thank you so much for the question. Yeah, let me take that one out. And of course, this is an ongoing conversation, friends. If you watch the stream after the live and you have questions yourself, like just please post them in the comments. I'll keep an eye on the streams as they pass. Post them on the LinkedIn comments as well. But I think like this is a very rich resource that Franco, Marco, and Aline had put together. So let's just put it to good use. I'm gonna share also the link with where the video for walking through how to get your usage, what that looks like, and then also a couple of checklists that you can start using today. But I'm gonna leave us all with homework. almost run away without homework. All right. So what are we looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, we can set up to answer the question where I can set up the budgets. You can go in the billing and licensing. Here you have budget and alerts, and then you can work here to set it up. New budget, and then you can decide if you want. Here you're gonna see right now it's premium request, but then it will be bundled AI credits. You can go here, select this, configure the new budget, and then you can set up different level. Now you don't see the user level budget, but will be here. We can guarantee you. And then you can select the user level budget or the organization, the cost center, or the enterprise. You can also decide to exclude specific cost centers to the enterprise budget you're gonna set. But you need to keep in mind the golden rule is that a user or developer can stay in only one cost center. So you cannot add the same user in different cost centers. And anyway, once you do that, you can set up the budget amount. And when you set it up and stop usage and you leave the tick here, what actually happens is that you won't be able to use the chat anymore. As you were saying before, Andrea, there will be also when you reach the limit, you will be able to use the autocomplete and the next any suggestions, but the chat, of course, will be unavailable because you have reached the limit. So that how will be. So no more, let me say, unlimited usage for base model, because this concept will be, of course, erased by the new usage billing that will be available soon.
Okay. So homework to do for all of you enterprise administrators. Go and set up those usage. And thank you so much, Ninu, did our homework for us here on how to set up those budget and spending limits. So that is the workflow. Just take some time to do it. There is a couple of checklists that you can follow. I'm sharing the link to those as well. I think it's very important that you take time, even for you and your own individual spending, to look at the bill. Because I was perfectly shocked when I looked at mine. And in the usage of the models, like Marco mentions, like why am I always using 4.6 for this? Like, and you look at it because it does identify like what it was used for. And a lot of times it wasn't necessary. So I think it's a good idea for you to sort of do that homework on your own so you can understand your own usage. Then go set up those spending limits so that you're not getting surprises and you're taking advantage of the tool. Um, this is going to take some adjusting for all of us, but I'm hopeful. Like Marco said, it's not all gloom and doom. I think it's actually a way that's going to help us work more efficiently in the long run. Um, GitHub will continue to provide the top frontier models like we do every time there is a new frontier lab release of a model. It will be available to you, and you continue to use them. We just got to be more strategic about our usage and quit taking a hammer to everything that needs hammering. Maybe not. Maybe just needs a gentle push to the wall and not a big hammer. So I want us all to leave with some homework and think about one thing that we can do today that's going to help us sort of budget better. I'm going to go review my Copilot instructions because I think I have a lot of bloat in some of them. I threw everything by the kitchen sink and some of my bigger projects. I think that that's an exercise you can point an agent to with a lower reasoning model and just tell it to take as long as it needs, and it probably won't spend the time. So while we're still not in the usage-based billing, take advantage of the allowance that you have now to go cost those efficiencies. I've shared the links to the repository that turned out so good. Marco, thank you so much. I know it was a lot of research and work that went into that research, so take advantage of that. I also share the other link. I think it would be great if we can maybe contribute some translations. I've always given people homework to do. So I don't know if you open source it, Marco, but maybe PR is welcome so that we can keep it as a breathing, living guide. So as we adopt into this new way of feeling. Thank you both so very much. I learned a lot today, and I'm excited to go do my homework. I hope everyone here takes like at least one thing that they can start doing today. Go download your billing, go look at your Copilot instructions, and just start acting the way that you talk to the models. It's really interesting. Once you start understanding how it also works, you become a lot more budget conscious without even thinking about it. Because at the end of the day, one of the things that you mentioned, Francesco, how sometimes you get in pollution and the outcome side, it's not even helping for you to add all the bloat in the end. So thank you all so very much. Thank you both. Thank you for your patience with the noise and the new background. We have to do this again. Let's do it again in a couple of months and see like if we survive or not. I think we all will. We'll make it.
We have to survive.
Exactly. We have to survive. The idea is not to stop using it. Like, can you imagine? Like, the genie's not going back on the battle, my friends. We just gotta be smarter about what we use it and how we're using it. Marco and Francesco, where can people connect with you? On LinkedIn, online?
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So, and if you are watching this and you are an administrator of an enterprise, reach out to your salesperson so you can understand what credits are coming your way and the time allocated for those. Thank you both so much. Have a good rest of your day. Take the rest of the day off. You work already too much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you, friends, for joining this special stream for UEB guide. I encourage you all to please grab those links off the chat. I will post them on the show notes on YouTube as well, so that you have them as a resource. This guide that Marco, Olivo, and Arlene had put together, and Francesca put together, is incredible. There's also a quick links. Please take a look at how to download your usage billing and start working on sort of doing your own housekeeping. Listen, I'm not a fan of it, but I think in the end, it's gonna actually this having to go back and actually take a look at what agents I'm using in my Copilot instructions. I know I'm gonna find a lot of float there, and in the theme of efficiency and working better, not just for the usage and the expenditure of it, but to actually set up the models for success. I think it's a good exercise. So thank you all so very much. I appreciate you all so much for being my assistant. Thank you, Mr. Ruskan, for actually sharing that workflow. I will also drop in one more time the link to our GitHub checkout that we just did on what it is the auto model select. Because if you're like me and you've tried it before and you were like, well, this is not actually good, I think you're going to find yourself very surprised. And it's very interesting to understand the thought process and intentionality that it goes behind actually what model is selected. So I encourage you all to take a look at that as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. And please share the guys, share all the links. Thank you for being here. We'll catch you on tomorrow on Robert Dog Thursday. Thank you all so much. Take care.